Hi, my name is Katelyn Brinkerhoff. I'm at the Marilyn Engel Teaching Garden at ISU Extension Outreach in Woodbury County. So we're located in Sioux City, Iowa, and we are going to talk a little bit about tomatoes. So tomatoes are one of the most diverse vegetables that you can grow in your home garden. Just in this garden alone, I'm growing over 4 different varieties in the garden. So I have Roma tomatoes, beefsteak tomatoes, yellow pear, cherries, and a 4th of July tomato. All of them produce different shapes, and some will be slightly different colors in comparison to the other ones. So that's what makes tomatoes so diverse. And I did call them a vegetable at the beginning, but let's talk a little bit about the difference between fruits and vegetables, because a tomato is actually considered a fruit. Talking about the difference between fruits and vegetables, we have to think about the different parts of the plant. So a fruit is actually going to be forming from the flower of the plant, and it's going to develop seeds within it. A vegetable is going to be the other parts of the plant, like your roots, stems, or the leaves of the plant. So for a fruit, we don't typically eat the roots, stems, or leaves, but that is what a vegetable is. So some examples of a fruit would be apples, pumpkins, which is another one that we don't think of being a fruit, and our tomatoes. As for a vegetable, we have carrots, celery, and spinach. So a carrot is the root of the plant, celery is going to be the stem or the stalk, and then spinach is the leaves. So now you can see the difference between a fruit and a vegetable. So not only are they special in that way, but they are also special because they come in so many different shapes and sizes. So there are actually 3 different shapes that tomatoes can be. They can be a pear shape, they can be a round shape, and they can be another shape called oblate. So oblate would be something that is wider on the sides and shorter on the top. So it almost looks like a hamburger. So a good example of that would be our beefsteak tomatoes, which those ones are a little bit more oblate. So for colors, they can be different colors like pink, red, orange, yellow, green, basically any color except for blue. They can even be purple. Now, when talking about the different types of tomatoes, we have 2 different cultivars of tomatoes that you can grow in your home garden. We have indeterminate and determinate. So for indeterminate, they continue to grow, flower, and they set their fruit up until that last frost. So the frost actually will kill off that plant because it's too cold for it to survive outside. Indeterminate plants or tomatoes also have their fruit mature later on in the season because they have a longer growing season. You can actually harvest them over 2 to 3 months. And they also produce a higher yield because of that longer harvest time that they have. And these plants are going to typically be taller and more spread out, and they actually benefit from being in cages. So for determinate tomatoes, they will only grow to be a certain height, and they're flower and they set their fruit within just a short time frame. The harvest time is significantly shorter than our indeterminate tomatoes, and it's only going to be 4 to 6 weeks rather than 2 to 3 months. And they're typically going to be smaller and more compact, so that this is great for a small garden area, and they're great for canning or fresh consumption. So some determinate tomatoes that you can grow at home would be Roma tomatoes, which are great for sauces, and also cherry tomatoes, where an indeterminate could be a yellow pear tomato, or also a beefsteak tomato. When starting your own tomato seeds at home, you need to make sure that you start 5 to 6 weeks before you can plant outside. So the first day to typically plant in our part of Iowa would be around May 20th, and the last day of the plant would be around June 20th. So you want to go to your calendar and count back 5 to 6 weeks and mark on there, and that is the day that you want to plant. So you'll need a couple things to start your tomatoes inside. Some kind of tray with some drainage holes in the bottom of it. So I have a seed starting tray here, but you can also use some paper cups or plastic cups at home. And then of course you'll need a soil, so you can use a seed starting mix of your own that you create, or you can buy some from the store. And then of course you'll need your seeds. So you'll have to pick the variety that you'd like to use. So you can pick between your determinate or your indeterminate, and of course heirloom tomatoes. So once you have all your materials in, put your soil into your trays, put in your seeds, you have to wait for them to germinate. And once they germinate is when you can move them to artificial light or to some sunlight in a window. They need full sun, about 6 hours of sun at least a day. And once you get close to planting day, you'll have your seedlings ready to go. They'll be big and strong, But before you take them outside to officially plant them in the ground, you'll want to make sure that you harden them off. So to harden them off, it means to get them acclimated or used to the temperatures outside. So even though we might be planting around May 20th, it might still be a little cool outside in comparison to maybe the 70 degree weather that you have inside. So to harden off your plants, you'll just have to take them outside for a little bit each day, just to get them used to the temperature. Bring them in the evening. If you don't have a greenhouse to keep them in or some kind of cold frame at home. And so you can just do that every single day and just leaving them out there for a little bit longer each day, just so they start to get used to the temperature until you get up to your planting day. I hope you learned a lot about tomatoes today, and I hope you get to enjoy them throughout the summer. Make sure to stop out to your local farmer's market and see what types of tomatoes they have. Make sure to ask lots of questions on what type they are, or what kind of cultivar they might be. Are they determinate, indeterminate? Is this an heirloom tomato? So remember to ask all those questions when you're going out purchasing. And I hope you're able to grow some of your own tomatoes next year, and keep your eyes out for Emily's video coming up at the end of the month. She's going to teach you a little recipe about how to use tomatoes.